Good, I feel better.
Okay.
There we go. We all have the message now. Awesome.
There we
Yeah.
go.
All right. Welcome and happy Monday, everyone. Can't believe it's almost the end of January. It will be tomorrow. But Nanette, would you please call to order the Springfield Technical Community College Board of Trustees regular meeting for Monday, January 30th, 2023.
Yes, Mary Kate Murin,
Present.
Janae McDonald,
Present.
Betty Esposito,
Present,
Gladys Beth Garcia, Tonia Butler Perez,
Present.
Samalid Hogan,
Present.
Bill Johnson,
Present.
Norm Rodan,
Present.
Jeff Sattler,
Present.
and Max Starks.
Present.
Thank you.
Ready to go. So we have the approval of minutes for the Board of Trustees meeting that was held on November 28th, 2022. Do I hear a motion to accept the approval of the minutes as presented?
Madam Chair, I so moved.
Second.
Great. Discussion. Hearing none, Nanette, would you please call the roll to approve the meeting minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting held on November 28th, 2022?
Mary Kate Murin,
Yes.
Janae McDonald,
Yes.
Betty Esposito,
yes,
Gladys Beth Garcia, Tonia Butler Perez,
Yes.
Samalid Hogan,
Yes.
Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Norm Rodan,
Yes.
Jeff Sattler,
Yes.
and Max Starks.
Yes.
Thank you.
We're going to transition right into committee reports and Trustee Starks. We had a Committee on Ways and Means on January 9th, 2023. I'm hoping that you can give us an overview of that meeting for the
Yes.
board.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Madam Chair, and good evening, all. So we started with an update on the fiscal year 2022 single audit. There were no current or prior year findings, and we were updated on the O'Connor and Drew PC merger with the firm Witham, Smith and Brown. We then approved a motion to recommend to the Board of Trustees the approval of the fiscal year 2022 single audit and agreed upon procedures. We spent the remainder of the meeting discussing the normal topics, the fiscal year 2023 first quarter trust fund report, and the financial update and outlook, including cash flow projection, the fiscal year 2023 enrollment update, and the fiscal year 2023 budget outlook. We finished the meeting with the president's perspective and old and new business before adjourning the meeting. And that's the update, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Mac. Really appreciate it. Do I hear a motion to accept the Committee on Ways and Means meeting minutes held on January 9th, 2023?
So moved.
second,
Second.
Perfect. I got 2 seconds. Discussion, please. Hearing none, Nanette, if we can call the roll to accept the Committee on Ways and Means meeting minutes before we go into the motion that was held on January 9th.
Yes, Mary Kate Murin,
Yes.
Janae McDonald,
Yes.
Betty Esposito,
yes,
Gladys Beth Garcia, Tonia Butler Perez,
Yes.
Samalid Hogan,
Yes.
Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Norm Rodan,
Yes.
Jeff Sattler,
Yes.
and Max Starks.
Yes.
Thank you.
As Trustee Starks did mention in the Ways and Means, we do have a motion that came out of Ways and Means. Would someone like to read the motion?
I'll go ahead and read it. It's Betty. That the motion, Committee on Ways and Means, subject fiscal year 2022 single audit and agreed upon procedures. The motion moved that the Springfield Technical Community College Board of Trustees, pursuant to the provision of Section 22, Chapter 15A approves the fiscal year 2022 single audit and agreed upon procedures as presented, and there is an attachment.
Great. Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion. Hearing none, Nanette, would you please call the roll to accept the motion 2023-02, the FY 2022 single audit?
Mary Kay Murin,
Yes.
Janae McDonald,
Yes.
Betty Esposito,
Yes.
Gladys de Garcia, Tonia Butler Perez,
Yes.
Samalid Hogan,
Yes.
Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Norm Roldan,
Yes.
Jeff Sattler,
Yes.
and Max Starks.
Yes.
Thank you.
Everybody. So before we jump right into the motion, Dr. Cook, I wanted to turn it over to you first to kind of talk through just kind of the highlights. I know that the endorsement, the progress report was sent to us in advance. I just wanted to know if you wanted to give us any highlights before the board takes motion on that.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Madam Chair. And good evening, trustees. Happy 2023. Good to have you all together in a Zoom room. It's incredible that time just keeps marching along. We're on the cusp of February, of course. A very important consideration, obviously, we put a lot of reading in front of the board for this meeting, but hopefully we gave you enough time to work through that. This was one of them. We have NECHI coming as part of their notice of concern, specifically around governance in particular. And administratively, again, we have put together this report that really gives a sort of timeline of the progress made. And I think that's one of the things NECHI looks for when they come back around. Again, we've got those dates in March 6th and 7th, where they will be coming to review on ground and coming in person to hear about our progress. And so that is our report. We've got that in front of you for endorsement. But again, you're going to find key things that we've talked about for the better part of a year. You brought in a consultant. That individual stood up a task force working group to really work through this. There are a number of recommendations made, including to the All Unit Congress, and they themselves have made some progress on adopting those. In the meantime, you all voted to stand up a shared governance council, which again provides some helpful clarity on order of operations and the way a recommendation gets moved forward. And when you combine that with your own examination of bylaws, which again, we've got teed up for tonight, there's just really helpful progress made. And I do anticipate NECHI will see it that way. I have had a visit paid to me by the chair of that visiting team. Her name is Dr. Mary Ellen Jakowski. She's the president of Three Rivers Community College in Connecticut. It's a very NECHI practice for the chair to come and meet with the president in advance. So I've had a chance to sound out with her. And so she is aware of the broad brushstrokes, but this is the formal response. And again, happy to take any questions that trustees may have, given the contents that you've had a chance to read.
From the board.
I don't have any questions, but I just, have a slight comment that I think that it was also really helpful and good for us. The fact that the consultant that we had for the shared governance and that brought us through that model has also served, if I'm not mistaken, on the same board that does NECHI visits or has done NECHI visits in the past. And I think that's really important when we talk about addressing notices of concerns and dealing with this accrediting body. So I'm just really grateful for the consultant that really took on that work. It was a really large group, a lot that was unpacked, and just, he really seemed to have the experience to get us through that. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Trustee McDonald. I think, again, a fair reading of this by NECHI or any other stakeholders will see the seriousness by which the institution took the notice, brought in a consultant that, for all intents and purposes, carries a lot of legitimacy with his experience, background, the roles that he's had, including serving as a community college president. And yeah, that there are very tangible steps as a result of that consultancy as well.
think it proves we'll go into old business, and Trustee McDonald, when you go into a little bit of a report and give us a highlight of all the hard and incredible work that you and your team, your ad hoc team did with the bylaws, it's really clear that that letter of concern, we took that very seriously. Really overachievers. Trustee McDonald, you and your team were only supposed to really do one or two things. You did the entire bylaws. So extra kudos to you and all, but it just shows the importance that we did hear from the team. We knew there was going to be things that we needed to take care of, and we did. And so you put something to us, we'll get it done. So really appreciate and echo the comments that you made, Janae, about shared governance and how important that was. Any additional comments with all the heavy reading that we had? I hear that laugh, Bill. Would anyone like to read the motion? It's located on page 28, but it's also on the screen in front of us.
I can read the motion.
Great, thank you.
Okay. So the motion is for the endorsement of the NECHI Focus Visit Report. And it reads that the Springfield Technical Community College Board of Trustees endorses submission to the New England Commission of Higher Education, NECHI, the Focus Visit Report as prepared and presented.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Thanks, Betty and Samad. Further discussion. Hearing none. Nanette, would you please call the roll to accept motion 2023-03 endorsement of progress report accreditation?
Mary Kate Murin,
Yes.
Janae McDonald,
Yes.
Betty Esposito,
Yes.
Gladys Ve Garcia, Tonia Butler Perez. Tonia Butler, you're muted. Samalit Hogan,
Yes.
Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Norm Rodan,
Yes.
Jeff Sattler,
Yes.
and Max Starks.
Yes.
Great. Thanks, everybody. And now, Dr. Cook, we're going to turn right into your perspective, please.
Great, thank you. Trustee Butler Perez, sorry about that. We hit the mute button on you. If you found that again, we knew you were good with that last vote. There you go. Thank you.
Happy Monday, right?
I want to thank y'all. I'm doing the best I can. At least I'm in a learning process.
Oh, you're doing great.
Absolutely.
Two things at the top. I popped in the chat for everyone to see. I wanted to make a mention of this. Every year, ACCT has a National Legislative Summit on community colleges. I went with a couple of trustees, I want to say 5 years ago, but haven't been back. And I was encouraged because we actually have two of our trustee members, Trustee McDonald and Trustee Butler Perez, are actually going as part of a very large Massachusetts contingent of other community college trustees and presidents. And so we'll be down there next week. And again, it's a really wonderful forum. We have a chance to get FaceTime with our Massachusetts delegation. Obviously, community colleges are pretty easy to support, and it helps us to continue to keep a toe in the federal waters, not just the state legislative waters as well. So just wanted to mention that, and you'll see a link there. I believe Nanette typically puts out an email to all the board around some of these opportunities. And again, that's underwritten by the college itself for future reference trustees if you want to join the contingency. The other thing, and you'll have seen it in an email earlier, the college launched spring semester this Monday. And I probably should have started with, again, the question often for everyone is, how are we doing on enrollment? And so the good news, but as I shared with the college, not out of the woods news, is that we're up year over year. We're actually settling in at about probably 5% on the credit side, up from spring of last year. So not pre-pandemic. We're not, banging the drum to say we're out of the woods by any means, but it's certainly good that if we in fact can find the bottom, this is a helpful way to build back. So let me start with that. In the meantime, working through what you'll see on the agenda there, December. So the space between our last meeting that we had in November, and again, this meeting, you'll see we've just done really, really well with a number of institution supporting awards. And just to give a note, obviously, the work done on the cyber center down at Union Station continues to really pick up some traction and momentum. Not only do we have state monies, and there are local monies from the city of Springfield, but $3 million, the largest earmark that Congressman Neal brought to the table as part of this omnibus bill. Again, these are part of the reasons why it helps to continue to maintain that presence with all members of our delegation. That's a really big win for that cyber center. And again, a real thanks, and I shared this publicly at our professional day with the whole college. Our faculty in this area have really embraced this work and this opportunity with the cyber range, and I'm grateful for their partnership on that. You'll see almost 1.2 million in adult education. This is that world of GED work and ESOL. And again, our Assistant Vice President of Workforce Development, Gladys Franco, is here. This again is some of the fundamental building blocks towards college. Is you do need to have, as an open access institution, you still have to have a high school diploma or a GED. So we're part of that onboard ramp ourselves. And it's good to have that next 5 years worth of funding there. $1 million for a STEM Tech Career Academy. This is early college, everyone. And again, being very large and intentional and scaled with our efforts to get our credits in the hands of high school students. 180,000 for Hunger Free Campus Initiative, always working at all the other aspects of students' lives that they contend with. And then somewhat surprisingly, in the last days of the Baker administration, we had applied for what was initially a $25,000 planning grant for nursing. And together with Westfield State, we get $600,000. So obviously nursing is one of those top of mind conversations for lots of people as well. This will allow us to hire some staff between the two colleges. We already have what's called the 3+1. So you can already do 3 years of the bachelor's essentially with STCC and do your final year with Westfield State to earn a bachelor's of science in nursing. So just really solid partnerships continuing. It just seemed like, given the aggregate almost $6 million coming through the doors, again, it doesn't go to overhead. It doesn't go to keeping the lights on or the operational aspects, but these are the kind of things that allow us to keep trying things, innovating, moving things forward a little bit. And I wanted to call attention to all of that. Happy to pause and see if there's any questions.
John, this is Jeff. I mean, it was a wonderful presentation from Richard Neal regarding that 3 million. I got a lot of press, and it was I did my job just by thanking Richie, and that I'm there for a 5-second soundbite, but he knew we appreciated it, and I think it's great for the college. Congratulations.
You know, people use win-win all the time, but the congressman has invested decades in sort of bringing back Union Station. The fact that the technical community college here in Springfield can sort of meet that mission and help lift some of this work. Obviously, cybersecurity is a big thing. Oftentimes it's harder to talk about publicly, but it's very real. You all know this in your backgrounds and your work as well. So yeah, the congressman was tremendous to really give this avenue for the college to step forward. So a couple other notes, and then I think we've got just a few more slides. So we did have a recent visit from the new commissioner, Dr. Noe Ortega. More of a fun fact than anything, the commissioner of higher ed is actually appointed by the Board of Higher Ed. It is not a governor appointment. So that's why we saw that movement happen essentially before the new governor, Governor Healy, took office. Comes by way of Pennsylvania. Commissioner Ortega was the Secretary of Education in Pennsylvania before this. And I share this because I offer to you, he was just absolutely blown away by us really putting the college on display. We had our best foot forward. He had a chance to sit with students in the Learning Commons. He had a chance to meet with our strategic planning task force, including Trustee Alexa Exposito, who was there in her liaison capacity. And we put him in simulation. We had him in the simulation spaces in Building 20. He saw the EMT ambulance that we have, a simulator. He saw our dental clinic. Again, these are the things. In addition to that, we actually walked him across the street to the tech park. He saw manufacturing. Again, I think he saw technical in our name. But when you really showcase that for them, for him, it made a very big impression. So I wanted to be sure the trustees knew that with a new incoming commissioner. We really put a good foot forward. Not unrelated. Again, this commissioner very much is thinking strategically and is really working, especially underneath all this, we have a strategic plan that's in progress. It's one of those things where I want to try to, again, they're more reading, but I want to have the board from time to time see some of the literature out there. And again, if you had a chance to read that article about age matters, just helps you to all see, again, what's the landscape in community college enrollment, because it carries a degree of complexity. Talks about recent high school graduates, frankly, not having the best outcomes at community colleges, and this paradox that, frankly, we are actually seeing more high school students earning our credits. So on the one hand, we want them more in the pathway to us, and yet at the same time, some of that social isolation and online that they themselves are choosing is maybe not resulting in some of the best outcomes. But also, I think if you saw this piece that might get your attention, these students, if they choose to not go to community college, are not transferring. They're not going to any college, as the article mentioned. And again, I think we've heard this anecdotally, but the idea of sometimes we're going to need to be patient for them to come back to us. And just know it's not that we haven't marketed or otherwise with them. They are choosing to not go to college at all. And life has happened. In the meantime, it mentions things like free tuition, and you may have seen that mentioned in remarks by the Senate president. It's been picked up a little bit by the governor herself. Our folks are in conversations with the administration about the mechanics and what that actually means. And when there is something concrete, I'll be sure that we're talking with the board about that. But this is part of what they reference in the article about all these supports that you try to utilize with students. And we've done a lot of that work. I'll leave you in some ways with this in this vein here, and then let me see if there's any questions about the article. The article lands with a place that I unfortunately land with all of you sometimes. There's more questions than answers. It's a really difficult time to sort of trend out at what enrollment looks like, to really forecast. So we're beating our budget projections, which is good. We've had a lot of support from Ways and Means to encourage a more conservative approach with what we're going to budget. And by beating that, that always gives us a little lift in a given year. But in enrollment, again, you've got all these complexities there, but happy to see if there's questions.
Hi, it's Betty. I just wanted to chime in on one thing that actually I was doing it today on the strategic planning part. I was unable to go to the second day for the professional day, but I asked Donna to forward to me any of the taped, and there's 3 of the taped presentation. I'll tell you, I taught, and when I listened to these 3, Lauren Goodman, who was up at Berkshire Community, this fellow, Dr. Paul Hernandez, his was unbelievable. I wish I had him in my classroom. And Bob LePage. And these are great. If I don't know if Nanette can forward the 3 to us. They're maybe the most 15, 20 minutes. But boy, did they bring things out like teaching in this day and age, just the key points. And it was very, very worthwhile. I'd say maybe 40 minutes, you have all 3 of them done, but they were excellent.
I'm so grateful for that prompt, and we absolutely will get those videos, everyone, in front of the trustees. And you know, I should remember what it does is it shows you not only the kind of considerations we as a community college need to think about, and what was mentioned by Trustee Lex Exposito is at professional day before the semester started, we really showcased 4 different areas of conversation for all of the college to be thinking about as we're mapping through this strategic plan. One was teaching and learning. So really for faculty thinking about the relationship with them and students. One was, if you've seen in the news, Chat GPT. So this is the artificial intelligence and how you just say, write me my remarks for my board of trustees, and the AI will generate a whole speech for you if you wanted to. It's pretty remarkable, and it has some people's head spinning with some of the considerations. But this individual talked about some of the very futuristic feeling, but also how to keep ourselves grounded aspects of this. Bob LePage, a former vice president here, who's now been a longer serving assistant secretary of education for the secretary of education, and talking about that sort of technical element and how that speaks to the future of community college. And I know there was a fourth, but again, I won't belabor it. We'll get those. Again, for trustees, what you'll see is this is the level of conversation that is taking place at a professional day. This is the investment we really are making with faculty and our staff to really be getting our heads around some very, very weighty subjects. So I'll move forward. There's a few slides to just share. These were discussed with Ways and Means, but felt again prudent given just how much time and effort we've put into budgeting, enrollment considerations, and really planning. Just wanted to call these forward for everyone. Again, Ways and Means had a chance to see them. As we map, again, using what is a pretty tried and true pathway for us now, we're going to put 3 drafts in front of Ways and Means of the budget for the next fiscal year. So you're going to see a draft out of Ways and Means in March, April, and then a final in May, with hopefully full board approval then in May. So we're in good shape come the end of the fiscal year at the end of June. But I wanted to note that there's 3 drivers, if you will, that we're really paying attention to. Of course, one is enrollment, because in addition to the state appropriation, which is the foundational piece of our budget, the amount of enrollment we have speaks to the amount of fee revenue that we have, speaks to how much our revenue has frankly shrunk over the last dozen years. So what you'll see is we've taken just a very conservative forecast where essentially we're putting as the baseline, as the foundation, 70,000 credits. And again, the good news is we're going to beat that mark this fiscal year, which gives us some hope for building back to try to beat that mark next year in the years to come. So again, we're going to talk more certainly in Ways and Means around enrollment projection. And we've done a little bit of sort of better diving where we're actually mapping that into programming. So we know, all right, again, at the end of the day, general studies is the largest group of students that we have. A lot of the enrollment swing goes up and down on that group of that single program itself. So again, wanted to just note that one. The second one, I'll take the next slide, is student fees. Here again, a lot of information, and you'll see the stack. The bottom line, just to point out, the Board of Higher Education, and there is a single Board of Higher Ed for all of public higher ed, they actually set the tuition. And what you'll see is it's essentially been frozen for the last decade or so, which has put the impetus on local boards of trustees, yourselves, to manage the cost consideration on the fee side of things. And so that's why you see the fee piece come up. And we have added some more program or course specific fees because we know nursing is expensive, manufacturing is expensive. We're starting to pay attention to some of those. And we do have some program and course specific fees in certain areas, and in other places, surprisingly, we don't. Not that it will balance out the total cost to operate those. The couple pieces here is, again, we're looking at what can we do this year. You'll see that we have effectively frozen fees for a few years here now. What we do next year, again, is a bit of a work in progress. We're going to be working through Ways and Means. I've started from the default where I'd like us to consider and at least try and emphasize one more year of a fee freeze, at least in the core, that sort of purple part of the column there, the sort of all college student piece, even if we move the program and the course fees specifically. My CFO gave me a little bit of a side eye. Ways and Means gave me a little bit of a side eye because it's true. You can't just keep lagging. Eventually, there's going to be a compounding impact of all of this. And we really have done well at this community college to manage student affordability. And we have new tools. And now, by the way, Pell has been increased. And so there is room, by and large, for the majority of our students to stay under that Pell threshold, meaning under the spot where they would need to take out loans on our tuition and fees. So again, this is a second driver that we're paying attention to. And the last one to really call forward that we don't often talk a lot about in this, and I'll take the next slide, is the support the college gets from the STIC Foundation proper. Again, what you're going to see is a newer, more recent historical perspective. And traditionally, we've seen, as you'll see there, two different sources of funding. One to help with what we call institutional aid, the idea of how we further supplement student packages to further help with cost to attend, and also with institutional support, essentially a block grant of 100,000 for capital projects. So you see about 350,000. Obviously that went down during COVID, all the way down to I gotta look at 2022. It was just the capital piece, and we pulled out the student piece because we had a lot of federal aid that we were putting out the door directly. The long and the short of that is it's likely not feasible for the STIC Foundation to continue this level of support. The amount of money that they have under investment has, like our portfolio, taken a bit of a beating in the market. They're not making revenue on the amount under investment. And as opposed to them chewing away at the principal, we want to be mindful of all that. So it's likely that the foundation support needs a little bit of relief in the short term. And I just wanted to, again, help call that forward. And it further prompts me, and again, we're going to put this on internal externals agenda for next week. We still are looking for that trustee liaison to the foundation. So again, you all have that much more of a direct connection to the conversations that are happening there. So with all that, again, wanted to just give an initial outlook on all things budget. We again have a wonderful, not just, by the way, finance and administration team who are helping manage the forecasting, but cabinet has really been doing a lot of work for weeks, they would probably say months at this point, of really already building and planning for this next fiscal year. And I'm really grateful for them. You see them on the screen month in and month out, everyone, but happy to take questions.
Additional questions for Dr. Cook?
I have a
Right,
question.
Dr. Cook. Oh, sorry, please go ahead.
When you say that the foundation, that we're going to give them a break, so we're not going to ask them to give us any money for a few years?
No, we're trying to avoid zeroing that out.
Oh,
so
no,
that
no,
they
I
can-
understand
yeah.
that.
Yeah, but as to what that amount is, again, we are really trying to help do some forecasting with them as well. We know it's going to be less, but what that number is still a bit of a work in progress. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
I will offer too. They as a foundation also directly administer a series of scholarships as well. That money varies between, let's say, 60,000 and 100,000 a year. That is another version of a supplement. So even if there was a day, and again, this is purely hypothetical, where we zeroed out for a year, the foundation still does have a direct scholarship providing relationship with STCC students. So we do have that piece as well, just to reference.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Dr. Cook. We'll transition into my report. I don't have a ton, but I'm gonna not steal Trustee McDonald any of your thunder, but just once again, thank you for leading the ad hoc committee in the revisions and the deep and hard work into the bylaws. So I know we're going to talk about that a little later, but just wanted to thank you for that. Really looking forward to the NECHI visit in March to really showcase all of the hard work we have done. And I know we have a motion a little bit later to adopt the bylaws, and that will then be uploaded and finalized in that report, which we did previously with the motion of accepting through NECHI. So a lot of great work there again. Dr. Cook and administration, it's good to see enrollment is shaping up and hasn't fallen. We need to remain vigilant though, putting resources, whatever that is, human marketing, to ensure that our enrollment stays where it is. because that will definitely have an impact on student fees, and everyone knows that coming forward. Let's see, strategic plan. Betty, with all your hard work, is really shaping up. Looking forward to seeing where we are in the next couple of months. But thank you again for all the hard work you've been doing. It's not easy, and I appreciate you and everyone who is part of this strategic plan. And I know Dr. Cook just kind of teed it up for a trustee liaison to foundation. So hopefully we'll have somebody raise their hand, or maybe we'll have to do a voluntold, but we'll have that conversation later. So we'll look forward to supporting the foundation as we have everything with the college. So with that, I think we'll go into old business. Dr. Cook, and I know that we have some upcoming trustee meetings. Did you want to talk a little bit about those?
Happy to. Just more as a prompt so people can look ahead and plan. There was, I know, great hope around starting to meet by the board in person. February 6th, so internal, external will be virtual. And again, as shared, we've got a couple trustees who will be in Washington, D.C., so that only makes good sense. So we'll look to April, likely for internal, external to meet on campus. Committee on Ways and Means, again, Trustee Starks has encouraged the approach to use virtual, and we don't have any news on open meeting law and whether that will sunset at the end of March, but we'll keep everyone posted. But again, do note the full board meeting on March 27th will be held on campus. And again, it'll be great to see everyone in person. It also gives us a wonderful opportunity to debrief together the NECHI visit from earlier in the month and get a sense of where we are with governance. So do look for whether, and even if there is the opportunity to extend open meeting, again, talking with our chair, having that meeting in person will be a nice touch, I think, for everyone.
Be at the Learning Commons, right? Dr.
Yeah,
Cook?
we'll as much as we've used the 7th floor in the past, everyone, really giving you a chance to spend time in building 19. It's just such a wonderful space. We're inclined to have those trustee meetings there.
I think we're inclined there too, being in a newer building, and it's beautiful. So we'll take advantage of that. Dr.
Thank you.
Cook. Absolutely. So Trustee McDonald, let me transition to you so we can talk a little bit about the revisions that you and your team has put together before we go into this motion. Just want to turn it over to you as lead first.
Thank you. I just want to cover a few of the key area or key changes that took place. And we had 5 scheduled meetings, and we had 4 trustees that participated in the committee. And so we have clarified who the executive committee includes, and that is to include the chair, the vice chair, and secretary. The 2015 board vote delegating personnel authority to the president is now included in the bylaws. The annual meeting / retreat has been moved to the spring so that it can better coordinate with the presidential evaluation timetable and other considerations around goal setting or strategic discussion and planning. And instead of, I guess, prescribing or ordering the meetings by month, instead there's a minimum number of meetings that will take place throughout the year, and those will be defined by the board as well as the committees, unless the board determines otherwise. The Massachusetts open meeting law is now explicitly referenced in the bylaws, meetings, quorum, under what circumstances we can go under executive session, it can be held or called, etc. We've also added a new committee, new standing committee, that's facilities and capital improvements. So that's in addition to Ways and Means and internal, external. And now, given that we've added a new committee in relation to the size of the board, we've also made change to the size of the committee. So the size now has been changed to no less than 3, no more than 5 trustees appointed by the board chair for each of these committees. Ways and Means is now to meet 6 times a year, internal, external to meet 4 times a year, and the facilities and capital improvements meets 2 times a year. What else? Oh yes, we also added definitions to these standing committees. which there were either not any or just needed more fleshing out according to Netchie's letter of concern. And then lastly, the board chair is now ex officio to all standing committees. So unless there's a need or for an establishment of quorum, the chair does not vote unless, again, there's a need for a quorum. And this also means that the chair may not be present at some of the standing committee meetings. And one more thing, not lastly. So there is a minor typo in the document that went out to all of you. It's at the bottom of, or towards the bottom of page 9 under Article 6. There's a term that says board in there and it shouldn't be there. It's going to be deleted. It doesn't even make sense with what the sentence says. I think it was just some sort of typo. One of us might have been typing too fast. But that's about it, unless you're going to open it up for questions or something.
I am. I'm going to open it up. And again, thank you so much for all the hard work with you and your team. But I'd like you to open it up to other trustees with any comments or questions you might have.
Did y'all read it?
Yes.
I know you did. I'm just joking. It was a lot.
You know what it was, and
I'm a happy person, but anyway, I just want to know if you got questions, ask us, because we worked on it. And it was 3 women when I was there, and I couldn't really help because I was dealing with deaths on both sides of my family. But it was a fun thing to do. We had a good time doing it. It wasn't like we had a great time. I did, Janae. I don't know about you.
I did too, yes.
Y'all
We
got
into the
questions.
weeds on things, and yes, we had to pull ourselves out of the weeds. And
It's just a draft, and it's our recommendations, but we need you all to help us to make sure that it's correct. We did what we thought was best, but hopefully, if you got some suggestions, we open for them.
And I would add that I really appreciated the staff, President Cook,
God,
and the
yes.
staff coming
Really.
to some of the meetings
That's
and
right.
offering support and helping with some of the wording and some of the technical terms. That was very helpful. Thank you.
what I appreciate is really putting context around the committee, the charges. Janae, as you mentioned, really important that, someone who is an outsider might really be able to jump into these bylaws and understand the importance of the board and the work we do in collaboration with the faculty, staff, cabinet, and of course, what we're doing for the students. So really, really appreciate that. Are there other comments or suggestions to the team?
It's Betty. I was just going to make one comment. I did attend a couple of the meetings that it's a great working document when it has to be reviewed and revised. It's a great base, and it's going to be easier next time, Janae, for wordsmithing,
right.
But they did an excellent job. I mean, I watched word, an at and an a. Well, no, a and at. Let's switch it, and reading things. Excellent work.
Well, Betty, you make a good point, is that because on page 62, you can see the last time we really amended this was in 2013.
Right.
So, that was the reason for the concern, right? And I loved your comment that it's a fluid document. It needs to be reviewed. And whether we take sections just to make sure, because the environment changes.
Right.
And for us to really put some meat on the bone was really appreciated by everyone. But I hear your comments. Absolutely. I might have cut somebody off by accident. Additional comments? Okay, hearing none. Do I have, we have a motion that's on page 50. It's also on the screen. Do I have someone on the board who would like to read the motion?
I'll read it.
Great.
Springfield Technical Community College Board of Trustees, motion number 2023-04. Subject, adoption of revised STIC trustees bylaws. move that the Springfield Technical Community College Board of Trustees adopts the revised bylaws as prepared and presented by the Ad hoc Bylaws Committee.
Bill Johnson,
second.
second.
Oh, I got you, Bill, right? Yes, with a second?
Jeff might have been there before me, whatever.
Okay, well, a tie goes to the runner.
Yeah.
Additional discussion.
This is Jeff, by the way, Bill. It wasn't me, but
Oh,
It was me. It was me. It's okay.
it's all nice to be
We all sound the
involved.
same.
I know there was a lot of discussion months back, a lot of work done. Did we have our attorney or the attorney firm that reviews all of the community colleges take a look at this as a third party outside of the committee itself?
No, we didn't need, nothing rose, Jeff, to the level of sort of statute or sort of authority that way that would have sort of prompted that piece. All these changes are sort of well within your statutory authority already.
Okay,
So no.
okay. Thank you.
Well, Janae, I
No
will say,
comments.
I have one comment, Janae. I will say that by doing the bylaws, I happen to be going through the bylaws at one of my other commissions. So I got to read through it and I learned a lot. So thank you for the great work you did on this bylaw.
You're welcome. Thank you. And I'm just really grateful to the committee members as well, because it was a fun process, but there was some nerve wracking involved a little bit, but it was fun nerve wracking and we got it done. So.
the consulting check needs to be made out to STCC.
I second that.
Good call, Bill. Hearing no additional discussion, Annette, would you please call the roll to accept motion number 2023-03, adoption of the revised STIC trustee bylaws?
Yes, Mary Kate Murin,
Madam Chairman, just for point of record, it's 2223.04, I believe, not 03.
Oh, did I say two? I apologize. Thank you for catching that, Bill.
so Mary Kate Murin,
Yes.
Janae McDonald,
Yes.
Betty Esposito,
Yes.
Gladys Beck Garcia, Tonya Butler,
Yes.
Thank you, Grandma.
Sam Ali
If she
Hogan,
needs some.
Yes.
Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Norm Jordan,
Yes.
Jeff Sattler,
Yes,
and Max Starks.
Yes.
Thank you. We'll make changes now into the motion of 2023-03, the endorsement of progress report. On the bottom there, I'm sure you saw it was highlighted. Once we did choose and voted in the adoption of the revised bylaw. So that document then will be just updated. Okay, any new business, anyone? Anything else on your agenda, Dr. Cook?
No, I think especially with the reading, everyone, thank you for working through that pretty consequential topics tonight. Really appreciate the integration, the engagement on these, and a really good start to 2023.
Thank you so much. Our next board meeting will be February 27th, 2023. The year is going quickly already. It happens as you get older. I have to look in the mirror. Do I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Perfect. Nanette, would you please take the roll to adjourn our meeting of tonight?
Mary Kate Murin,
Yes.
Janae McDonald,
Yes.
Betty Esposito,
Yes.
Betty's bed, Tonya Butler Perez,
Yes.
I'll see if
Sam
I
Ali
can do it.
Hogan,
Yes.
Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Norm Jordan,
Yes.
Jeff Sattler,
yes.
and Max Starks.
Yes.
Thank you all. Good night.
Great, everybody. Have a great night and a great week.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much.
You too.
Well.
Okay.